Peace. I'm Ogun Lumumba, also known by my artist name, which is Poet D. We're here at the Black Fathers Academy. Um, and today, to start this off, to jump this off, we're going to work on defining what it means to be a black father, right? So, this is my second video for this channel. My first video is basically an introduction, right? But we're going to start trying to break this thing down layer by layer. And if you like this channel, or if you like this content so far, I'm still building the channel. Please subscribe. Definitely please subscribe. So we can start having these intimate discussions and feedback and things like that. So, what it means to be a black father, I think what needs to be factored in is that, for one, before you are a father, you are a black man. And when you're living in America, that takes on a certain social and political world that we are all shaped from, consciously, subconsciously, unconsciously, whatever, right? And due to the fact that we are oppressed a certain way, not saying our black women are not oppressed, I'm talking about black men right now. This shapes into our parenting, and we have to look at that. So what I'm saying is that our parenting, our ways of fathering, or lack of ways of fathering, comes from the social political context of our oppression. And so to understand that when you have an extension of yourself, which is a child or children, you're doing it in a context of warfare. If you can understand the things that go on, whether it's the streets, politics, the media, food, there's a war in general that affects everybody, but it affects black people a certain way, and black men are affected a certain way as well. And we want to look at that, if we really to be serious and honest about the need for healing. So, being a black father, we already deal with stigmas of absentee fathers. That's already a stigma. And when you look at the state of the youth in the United States, especially in your urban areas, it begs the question, where are the fathers? And sometimes you do have the fathers that are present, but their values, their morals are not intact. So that's something, that has to be looked at, is what is your moral compass as a black father? And we also understand that what you have never established for yourself as a person, you will not be able to give in a sustainable way to your children. So sometimes, we have this thinking, I just sacrifice, I do this for my children, da 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 da. I want to teach them this. But if you're not doing it for yourself, if it's not an inner practice starting with you first, it's always going to be a blurred screen as far as how you transmit that lesson to the child or to your children. It will always be that way. So, with that being said, the greatest lesson that you can always get across to your children, not saying they're going to follow it immediately, is your own behavior, how you respond to life, adversity, and things like that. They will remember what you say, but more than anything, they're going to remember your behavior as far as what they seen you represent. So that is the greatest teacher to our children. It is our behavior. Now back to what it means to be a black father. it means that you're taking a stand against resistance, especially if you are a black father, particularly that um, you became a felon at a young age. You might have done some time in prison. You've been separated from your family, different things like that, because the system supports the division of families, especially black families, right? So, merging with your family, being there with your children consistently, that's a revolutionary act because of the context of our situation. And I do understand that we should be doing these things anyway, but we must acknowledge what occurs in this country, with absentee fathers, whether it's the guilt, the shame. Some fathers just don't want to be a part of their children's life. They don't want that added responsibility. And when we look at the messaging, not necessarily about children, but it leads to children, the disrespectful messaging that we have received in reference to our black women over the years, whether it was coming from NWA, Snoop Doggy Dogg, or just different artists, various artists, um, of the messaging that has played a role not only in our manhood, but an extension to who we are as fathers, because it's no way you can have your manhood intact when you disrespect womanhood. And if you disrespect womanhood, that will affect your relationship with your children, some shape, form of another. Even if you don't have a daughter, you're still rearing your son to carry on with those demons or those generational curses. And if you have a daughter, if your behavior is not of a certain caliber, you are teaching her what to accept from a man. You're teaching her the capacity of a man. And in our right minds and in our right spirit, we want to set the bar high. We want the bar to be high for our children, in terms of understanding what to tolerate in life, who to not allow in their personal space and things like that, right? But to be a black father and not just being one, but being present, emotionally available, that's a major job, especially if you are a brother who has not had the best economic situation. That has played a role with different brothers, in terms of their parenting. But, and if you have this problem, we're going to start talking about that. We're going to be having more dialogues about that and helping to connect you with helpful perspectives and eventually resources and things like that that will allow you to become a more sustainable father, because all of the tools that we need are available. It is about our ability to be diligent, to connect ourselves with those tools, those processes, those people, and things like that that will allow us to better our personal situation so that we're able to extend that to our children, right? And that could take on different it could take on different forms, I should say, for lack of better terms, because some are divorced with children, such as myself. Some people are married with children, right? So so you have single parents, with children. Single in the sense that they're not in a relationship with someone else, but they still have children. So all of these different types of arrangements need certain types of attention. And like even myself, from my marriage, three of the children from my marriage, I've been in their lives for over a decade now. They biologically they're not mine, but I'm their father, right? They understand me as a father, and I take on a role as a father. And I have two other children that are biologically mine, and you will not be able to tell the distinction between any of the five. You know, they're all my children. I claim them all, right? And so that's a blended family situation, and that needs special attention. But overall, what it really means to be a black father, it really, it really means you're going against a lot of resistance, especially if you did not come up in a situation that prepared you for economic prosperity. You really didn't have a foundation that you was working with, and it's even tough if you do not have family support. And that's why the Black Fathers Academy exists, is to be an extension of that support that we need for each other, right? That encouragement and things like that, within hopes that fathers become better fathers, and fathers that were not in the fold with their children, they find a way to put themselves back into the fold and to increase their standards, you know, of fatherhood and involvement. So I want us to really focus in on our particular situation in this United States as black men, and what it really means to be a father, to be present, to spend that time to help develop our children and things like that. Um, in midst of the lies, you know, about black fathers, and for some of us, or for many of us, they're truths as well. So I'm not trying to take up to say that we do not have bad fathers, but that's another reason why this channel exists, is to help fathers make improvement um, in the ways in which how we engage or interact with our children and our responsibilities, right? Because I believe that what we see out here in these neighborhoods, I live in an urban area myself, is that it is reflective that there's not really any meaningful involvement by enough black men to curb the tide of the criminality, the confusion, and a lot of things that our youth are going through, and they have no real direction. And a lot of a lot of them are growing up in female or woman led homes, right? And that's an imbalance where they have the leadership from the woman, but they don't have leadership from the man. That's an imbalance. To be able to create healthy youth into a healthy adult, there should be a balance of leadership, even if the parents are not together. You know, there can still be a respect for each other, a understanding, and a love so deep for the child that the parents do what's necessary to properly rear that child up to being a responsible adult. Because that's our job, in my opinion, is as fathers, or as any parent, but focus on fathers, is for us to bring forth to the world decent human beings. And that's a lot when you look at the type of destruction, the pain that goes on in the world. You're doing something for humanity and your people, your black people, when you are producing a decent human being in the world, a functional person who does not add on to the pain of the world. That's a lot. It's simple, but it's a lot. So that wraps up for today, this discussion. Please subscribe to the channel. Share if you felt this message. Feel free to comment. If you ever want me to touch on certain topics and things like that, put it in the comments. I'll find a way to add the email as well, so that if people have comments that they want to send via email or suggestions and things like that, you can do that as well. Have a powerful day. Till the next time. Peace.